Get down. Shankers, slicers, scullers, pullers, Hazel Rocketeers, and even you cheeky scratch golfers. We will improve your golf game and hopefully let you enjoy the greatest and most frustrating sport on the planet. Grab a bucket of balls because this is Across the Line. My name is Wild Bull, and I love the instructional aspect of the game of golf. However, many golf instructors can be incredibly expensive, hard to understand, boring, and they can just plain screw you up. Our mission on Across the Line is to help you understand the fundamentals of the game in a fun and relatable format. We will be discussing everything from swing analysis, putting, short game, nutrition, fitness, and more to help others improve their game and get to a level where they can actually enjoy themselves and not want to throw their golf clubs into a body of water. In the future, we will have incredible guests from talented amateurs, pros, swing coaches, celebrities who love the game of golf, and fitness instructors that will come on the show and provide real instructional value for our listeners that I like to call our straight shooters. I myself have accumulated a vast amount of knowledge over the years and am currently a 3.1 handicap index, so I'm no scrub myself, but by no means I'm an expert. That is why I'm here to learn and get better and relate to our straight shooters. Since I'm no expert, I need some assistance. That is why it's an honor and privilege to be joined by my two friends and golf experts, Mason Nome and Will Thompson. These two gents are best buds and have a laundry list of golf accomplishments that they've been achieving since the time they ditched those diapers and binkies for khaki pants and Fisher-Price golf clubs. One of their biggest accolades is that they are both 2022 men's golf national champions at the University of Texas at Austin. Hook 'em, baby. Boys, Mason, Willie T, before we start helping our listeners enjoy and improve their golf games, tell the people of the world what inspired y'all to start this podcast, your other biggest accomplishments, and a few things about yourself that can help you relate to our straight shooters.
All right, that was a great intro, Wild Bull. I really appreciate it. Yeah, kind of as you were saying, picked up the golf clubs when I was super young. My parents got me into the game, and I really fell in love with it from a crazy young age. Continued to play junior golf and had a good junior golf career, which allowed me to commit to the University of Texas along with Mason here. We're both in the 2019 class. And we had a really, really good team. It was some of the best 4 years of my life playing with the best amateurs in the world, some now best players in the world, and they really are some of my best friends now. So really, really cool experience and wouldn't trade it for the world. And then I graduated about a year ago this time, turned pro, grinded on the mini tours, doing some Monday qualifiers. So really working on the game. And I started posting TikToks to just share some of the knowledge that I've gained over the years, working with a bunch of really good coaches from TPC Sawgrass, Sea Island, some really top tier coaches that have worked with PGA Tour players. So gained a bunch of knowledge and wanted to share some of it. Grew the TikTok to have a pretty steady following, and then moved over to Skillest, which is an online coaching app, and have done over 200 lessons over there so far. So this was really just an idea to be able to, again, share the knowledge that we have of the game of golf and try to help people get better. And I'm really looking forward to it. I'm excited to get started.
Absolutely. And similar to Will, I fell in love with this game at a very young age. I started playing kind of around the house, and we had a little putting green in our backyard. So that's kind of where I'd go in the backyard with my dad and learn how to chip and putt. Didn't play my first tournament until I was 8 years old, but fell in love with competitive golf and continued to play in tournaments ever since. Played a lot of other sports growing up. Ro and I here were on the same soccer team for a few years, which was really fun.
And another Doug Hodo.
Yeah, exactly. Doug Hodo as well. But loved playing competitive golf, that was the thing I wanted to do most. And just like Thompson said, started to play a lot of AJGAs when I was about 12, which is, about the most competitive junior events you can really play in. And as I started to play well in those, started playing a lot of AJGA invitationals and got noticed from college coaches and committed to UT at 13, which is clearly very young, but I'm very happy I made that decision because it was great for me. And like what Will said earlier, probably the best 4 years of my life to this point, and winning a national championship was, everything that we worked for up to that moment. And to play golf with, on the same team with, Cole Hammer, Travis Vick, the Cooties, Will Thompson, among many others, was a dream come true. And now that, I'm starting to play professional golf, I'm excited to share my journey along the way. And I've learned a lot of golf knowledge to this point, and I'm excited to get going with this podcast.
Yeah, I'm super pumped to start this with y'all. Very blessed to start this with y'all. And I remember watching that national championship game on the edge of my seat with my mom and dad. My brother wasn't with us, so he's obviously a Texas X and huge UT sports supporter. But it was the three of us, and I remember Mason, when I was watching you, you had a phenomenal week that week, and then you were off on the other side of the course. You didn't even know.
Yeah,
I was screaming at the TV, Will Thompson, and I was like, "Oh my God, Mason! This is what the hell's going on?"
It was super cool, actually. I've told this a couple times before, but Travis was the final group. I was the second to last group. The Cooties and Cole had already finished their matches, and my match ended up going into extra holes. I was tied with David Pooch through 18. So we went to play hole 10, which kind of runs parallel to hole 18. So Travis was coming down 18. He had a lead, and then I think he was 1 up at the time. And then in my match, obviously we were all square through 18 playing extra holes, and everybody just stayed on 18. All the fans, and the fact we were playing Arizona State in Phoenix, there was a huge crowd of ASU people out there. And it was really cool because the holes run parallel. So I could see Travis's shot into the green, but I was watching from 650 yards away or so, and seeing all your teammates run out on the green and start celebrating, when Travis, hit that great lag putt to a foot was, I wish I was right there in person, but at the same time, it was cool seeing it, from a distance away, because you could hear the sound build.
Yeah.
And, you could just see all the burnt orange come together. So it was, it was as cool of a moment as I've ever had in this game, for sure.
It's like you're watching like the movie being made.
Right.
Like this, the director, you're watching the direction and the movie being made, but then you're actually in the movie, and you're like, all right, now I'm going to start, becoming the actor and living the dream of being in the national championship and winning it and celebrate with my teammates. But you were doing it from afar and then came into the picture, which I think is super cool. Well, and also to our straight shooters listening out there, my boys were being a little bit humble and modest as well, in terms of they didn't talk about some of their junior golf stuff. And I really wanted to highlight that, because to make sure everyone knows how successful these guys have been from the time they dinched those diapers and binkies for khaki pants and Fisher Price golf clubs. Mason won the Callaway World Junior Championship in 2013 in the ages of 11 to 12 group, and Tiger and Phil won that tournament, and many other PGA Tour pros as well. And Will Thompson was the youngest person ever to qualify for the US Am at age 13 in 2014. So to say the least, these two gents have worked with the best instructors on the planet, are well beyond the Malcolm Gladwell Outliers practice amount of 10,000 hours. Definitely beyond that, I assume. And are incredibly sharp and talented studs who know what the hell they're talking about. And Mason and Will T are currently grinding it out, trying to qualify for professional golf events. Enough with the introduction for our straight shooters. Let's get into the meat of the show. For our straight shooters today, we will be previewing the Farmers Insurance Open at Torrey Pines in La Jolla, California. The main topic of the day will be the full swing driver and driver analysis, and we'll be breaking down our first straight shooter on the podcast, Mr. Jason Resmini Esquire. In every show, when we preview a tournament, such as the Farmers Insurance Open, we will talk about a part of the game that is unique at that course, and that will most likely be the instructional topic we are going to focus on. For example, if we're talking about the Open Championship, we understand those courses have those dastardly pot bunkers. So we talk about the best ways to hit a bunker shot, potentially. We will display at least 2 swings every pod, and sometimes, as mentioned earlier with the GOAT talk, a third celebrity swing. One of the main swings, one will be a PGA Pro's model swing, something that you want to emulate potentially, and the other will be a swing sent in from our straight shooters. We will break down the swing and offer swing tips, drills, and general advice. The PGA Tour is starting to ramp up for the big tournaments of the year, and this past week marked the first stretch of the West Coast Swing, and it was the American Express tournament in La Quinta, California. Last year, it was Jon Rahm who won this tournament, but Rahm had no chance to defend the tournament this week. As y'all know, the Spaniard Rahmed his way over to the LIV for a deal reportedly ranging in the $400 million to the $600 million ballpark. It's a lot of money, folks. With many of great and talented players leaving for the LIV to pursue that dollar makes you want to holla, we needed a bang. We needed a bang, Mason and Will. We really needed a Mike Breen bang. Oh, we for sure as hell got one. Nick Dunlap, who just turned 20 and still can't legally get into a bar, has now become the new favorite Nick at the University of Alabama. Not Saban, it's Dunlap, baby. Because he was the first ever amateur to win on the PGA Tour since lefty Phil Mickelson out of Arizona State won the Northern Telecom Open in 1991. One thing is certain. It is clear that the recipe for success on the PGA Tour is to go to a big state public school with warm weather and where the fraternity parties are so big that Jay Gatsby would be impressed. Fortunate for you two guys, y'all did the same.
Yeah, unreal watching Nick out there this week. Mason and I both actually work now with his sports psychologist, Brett McCabe. And it was really cool for me to watch him go through kind of that final round. I watched probably the last 6-hole stretch without really getting up off my seat. And it was just like, oh my gosh, is this amateur going to hold on and be the first dude to win a tournament since Phil back in 91? Like, can he actually do this? And he just hung around, like missed a couple putts, but just stayed in it. And then you see what you thought was going to happen to an amateur, which you thought was going to happen to Nick, happened to Sam Burns coming down the stretch, doiking it in the water on 17. They call Alcatraz, right? Which is such a tough shot. And then 18 is a really tough tee ball as well. And Sam pulled it in the water again. And Nick got up on an 18, kind of hit the bailout ball, but fine over there. Thought he had a 2-shot lead, actually had a 1-shot lead, hit it up by the green, and then just such a clutch up and down. So it was really cool to watch that and then hear him talk after the round, because you can literally hear Brett McCabe in his voice. Like, I was really, really nervous, but I embraced it. Like, everybody's feeling that way out there, and I was just trying to do my best. If I shot 75 or if I shot 65, everything was going to be okay. And I just thought that was really, really cool to see such a young dude have that great of a perspective and play so clutch down the stretch. I mean, I can't imagine the pressure, because I know Noam and I have felt that in certain situations, but as an amateur trying to win a PGA Tour tournament with those tough shots, it was really, really cool to see.
Yeah, just as a golf fan, it was incredible to watch. Obviously a lot of people out there pulling for it because it's such a rare occurrence. I think it's only happened twice in the history of golf. Obviously the most recent with Phil Mickelson, I believe back in 91. So, it's one of those things that, hasn't happened in our lifetimes. So to see that unfold before our very eyes is pretty cool just as a golf fan and as somebody that's competed against Nick in tournaments, obviously a phenomenal player that's going to have, hopefully a long career in the PGA Tour. It was really interesting. I remember hearing, I don't remember if it was the post-round interview or another interview, but I think he said that he didn't know that Christian Bezuidenhout had made a birdie on the last hole to get within one of him. So it was really interesting because, obviously you're going to be nervous on that last tee shot, just as Thompson discussed earlier. But he bailed out right on the first shot, and obviously the second shot's still a scary one with water, right barely left of the green. He bailed out seemingly a little bit there, but he thought it was actually quite a good shot because when you're up by 2 in a tournament with water barely left of the green, that ball's going to end up most likely right of the green.
Just stay dry. That's all he was thinking, was just stay dry.
Stay dry, exactly. I'm pretty sure his quote was basically just either anything that was dry or just anything right of the green. So he kind of pulled off his goal in retrospect, and he gave himself, the chance to get up and down to win the tournament. And obviously hit a pretty good chip and a very solid 6-foot putt. So just as a golf fan, incredible to watch and super cool to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And boys, I'm not 100% sure, but do y'all know where Dunlap's from?
Yeah, I think he lives in Birmingham.
Did he grow up in Alabama?
I don't know if he grew up there, but I know he lives there currently, which is actually where Brett McCabe is as well, the mental game coach that Thompson and I both work with.
Yeah, because what I wanted to say, what's fascinating, guys, is I was looking, because Phil Mickelson, nothing to, I'm not giving any, I got to give Phil Mickelson all the credit in the world. He's one of the best to ever do it. But he won the Northern Telecom Open, which is still a big deal, but come on. This is the American Express tournament at the PGA West. When he won the Northern Telecom, it was also, I believe, in Tucson, Arizona, which obviously that helps him, right, Will T? Because, he was playing at Arizona State, so,
pretty
Arizona-based course, playing there all the time probably, helps a lot. Dunlap comes from Birmingham, Alabama, to the West Coast and just dominates also against all these West Coast guys that are playing those courses. They grew up on those courses, So I just think that's also just a phenomenal thing that he did, and just shows how good he is, that he can go anywhere and play phenomenal. Any course in the country.
Yeah, I think it just displays that high level of maturity we were kind of discussing. Obviously, he's done some very good things with Dr. McCabe, been working on the right things because, it's just so impressive to win, any PGA Tour event, but to do it in today's day and age when the fields are so deep. Seemingly, any of the guys in the tournament can win the event. Obviously, some caveats here and there where some guys are limited, maybe the course doesn't set up for them. But clearly Nick, being from Birmingham, Alabama, he probably doesn't play a lot of courses at home that are very similar to PGA West. So for him to, get ready with, 3 practice rounds, then go out and shoot 29 under with a 60 in his, PGA Tour event as an amateur golfer is one of the craziest things I've ever seen in this game. It was wild.
By the way, his strokes gained for the week were 15.98, which is unbelievable based on tour averages. Do y'all think he turns pro, or do you think he really wants to go win a national championship with Alabama? He has a 2-year exemption either way, right? Even if he stays through the end of this year, he can't make the money from that tournament anyway. He has the Masters because the USAM win if he stays amateur, and now he has it if he turns pro because of the win. So what do y'all think?
Man, geez, like I mentioned earlier, I know the weather's great, Alabama, the fraternity parties are great. It's a great school to be a part of and to go for 4 years, but I think it might be time that he needs to take that step. You just did something that the last person to do was Phil Mickelson in 1991. It was a long time ago. Okay. So I think it might be the time to move over, or, he's just going to get a giant live offer. The LIV will just come to him with bags of money and say, leave school now, come on over and we'll take you. So, I think something's bound to happen.
I'd be shocked if he didn't have an email from Liv already. I'd be shocked.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe that's why he's not playing this week. Maybe there's something there. So I don't know.
He's got a lot to think about either way, and Liv could be part of it. It could be, do I stay in college? Do I go to the PGA Tour? Do I take the Liv? It could be 3 different things, actually.
I think it's so hard to get PGA Tour status these days that I think he's going to be hard pressed to stay in college. And obviously, being a college athlete, a college golfer is incredible, but making the PGA Tour, I'm sure, has been a dream of his for so long that it's, now that he has that in his fingertips, and he's a winner in the PGA Tour, he's going to be playing the Masters. I mean, he won the USAM, in August. He's had so many accomplishments as an amateur golfer. Sure, he might not win a national championship with a team, but he's a PGA Tour champion as an amateur. I mean, how does it get any better than that? I think he'd be very hard pressed to not, turn pro after this. Something that's this historic of a milestone.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't agree more. Y'all know way more than I do. Spieth and Scheffler and all the greatest to do it recently. Obviously, they're UT guys too. We don't care that we love to spread that around over here. But they didn't, when they were starting to get the momentum, it didn't take them very long to make the jump, right?
No, Spieth won at 19.
He did. Yeah, he won the John Deere at 19, and I don't know if he was 20 by the time he got second at Puerto Rico too. So he had multiple really good showings, and he was by the time he won. But again, if he was still in college, he would have added his name to the list of amateurs that have won a PGA Tour event. And Scotty, it took him a little bit more time than Jordan. He stayed 4 years here at UT, and graduated with a degree in finance and had a very good college career. And then it took him a little while. I think he was the Korn Ferry Player of the Year.
That's right.
And then from there was able to segue to the PGA Tour and obviously have this incredible career that he's in the midst of right now.
Yeah, Scotty went like the mainline process of how it's planned out for you. It's like good college career, Korn Ferry Q School, get on Korn Ferry, have a good Korn Ferry career, and then get onto the tour. Spieth kind of jumped the boat a little bit.
Good.
Yeah. And because I'm curious if the other Bama legend that, there's been a decent amount of Bama legends, but the most notable one, Justin Thomas, did he take his full 4 years, or did he jump pretty early as well? Do y'all know? Or I don't even know.
Almost positive he graduated early.
Incredible college career. I think he won 2 national championships at Alabama. Could be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure he was number 1 amateur. If he wasn't number 1, he was, very highly regarded. So, him coming out as well was, everybody knew that he was going to be, on the PGA Tour at some point if things were to go as planned. And obviously they have. And now he's just like Jordan, had this incredible career so far. So,
all right, boys, we need to talk about the main tournament of this week, reigning out of La Jolla, California, with a rating of 78.8 and a length of 7,802 yards. It is lush, fast, green, and it is very mean. Torrey Pines.
Definitely 2 of the best courses on the West Coast swing this week at the Farmers Insurance Open, with Torrey Pines North and Torrey Pines South. And just as Roe described, 7,800 yards, 78.8 rating, and 148 slope, all coupled with a very challenging week for the players. The course defenses are definitely the length. San Diego being at sea level, course typically plays very soft, so players won't be getting a lot of roll in the fairway. Means that the players will have a very long and challenging course with a lot of long irons into the green. So the players that can hit the ball extremely long and extremely straight are going to be able to play well this week, and those that are short and crooked are going to be in deep trouble. Second big defense to the course this week is definitely the rough. I've been able to play Torrey Pines probably 15 or 20 times, and when I hit it in the rough, it's nearly an automatic bogey unless you get up and down from short of the green. So the historically very thick rough, as we all know from the Farmers Insurance Open, as well as the 2008 U.S. Open, when Tiger was able to defeat Rocco Mediate in that legendary playoff, as well as 2021 when John Rahm won the U.S. Open. Torrey Pines is notorious for its thick rough, and you're not going to be stuck behind very many trees here at Torrey Pines, but the rough will definitely get you. So players that can very much hit it straight and long, as well as hit their irons quite well, and most notably their long irons, can compete this week, and those that don't will shoot some very high numbers for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the stats back all that up. Looking at the past 5 years, going back to like 2017, they're every single winner essentially is positive in strokes gained off the tee and strokes gained approach. I think Jason Day was minus point zero something in strokes gained approach when he won a couple years ago, but it's just such a big boy golf course. Any course that hosts US Opens, the better players are going to be at the top of the leaderboard. You can't fake it around there. So just like Mason pointed out, you got to keep the ball in play. You got to be hitting it solid. And you got to give yourself some looks around these greens. I think it really comes down to who can avoid the most mistakes, who can stay out of that high rough, because you can get some lies off the tee where you might have to take a wedge out and just play it back into the fairway, not even be able to go for the green. And then same thing if you're missing greens, the lies can be so brutal and hard to judge compared to normal golf courses. So it really, really is a monster. But I always look forward to it. The finish is really cool. Hole number 18 is that awesome par five where you got to split it between those bunkers, and then you got the little pond short. You can kind of hit that high floaty 5-wood in there, 3-wood for some guys to try to get it onto the green, or you can lay up, give yourself a wedge. But it's always really entertaining coming down the finish, especially because the scores aren't crazy low. So normally that leaderboard's tight, and ideally there's some really good names up at the top. So I always love watching this tournament, and I'm excited to see it this weekend. All right, now we've talked about the course. We got a gist of it. Again, like I said, it's a big boy golf course. So getting into the picks for the week, he might not be at the top of the betting list, but he's been really, really solid. I got Ludwig Aberg coming in. I think that's the American way you say it. I don't want to mess it up for him, but he is like, according to Rory, who everybody considers the best driver of the golf ball in the world, Rory says that Ludwig is the best driver of the golf ball in the world. So that works out here. He pounds it, he hits it far, he hits it on a rope, dead straight. He's got good iron play. So I think this golf course sets up perfect for him as long as he can figure out the pass pound or the what's the greens again? Poana. Keep getting that confused. The Poana, it's bumpy, it's a little bit weird. So if he can get some putts to drop with how good he hits the golf ball, I think he's going to be right up there this week.
I think that's a very good pick. And as we were kind of talking about the course earlier, it's a big boy course, and you can't really fake it out there. And you really can't fake it on any course in the PGA Tour, but especially at one where, birdies don't come by very easily. You got to hit 2, 3, or 4 pretty great golf shots and make a putt on top of it in order to really improve your score. It's not like last week at the Amex where you're seeing birdies left and right. This week, if you hit it in the rough, you're looking to make par. You don't have any real chance of making a birdie, most likely. So that being said, I'm going to go with Minwoo Lee as my pick. I think he's been trending very well these past few months and been playing some very good golf. And I think he's very comfortable driving the ball very long and very straight. Clearly, he has close to 190 mile an hour ball speed and hits it very straight. And I think he's very comfortable in California golf courses. So I think he can take advantage of his length, and I think he's playing with a lot of confidence right now. I think he's going to win this week.
Yeah, and before I get into my pick, I'm curious what y'all think of Minwoo Lee's mustache.
I don't think it looks very good.
I think it fits kind of his brand. Like he's kind of the cool young Australian kid. He can kind of do whatever he wants. Like that's cool. I personally wouldn't rock it, but I mean, I think he's got the swagger to pull it off.
And he's got the new Lulu contract with the clothes, so he's got
Really?
that going too. Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Wow. Okay, because I saw that mustache. I was like, it's not my cup of tea, but I see what you're saying, Will Thompson. He's got the swag. He can rock with it. But I saw that. I didn't know has he always had that? Or
No, I think it's a recent.
development?
I think it's a new development. I think it was within the last couple weeks that you got the Lulu going.
Hey, maybe he'll start to put it on with that facial hair because it's worked for some people in other sports. We'll see if it works in golf. To our straight shooters out there, you might not have known, but Tiger Woods has owned Torrey Pines. They should just name the course to Torrey Woods and not Torrey Pines at this point. And on top of that, it would be irrational not to have the GOAT be our first ever model swing of the day. And for our first straight shooter of the week, as mentioned before, we are discussing Jason Resmini Esquire, a 6.2 handicap who is beloved by many and reigns from the beautiful state of Rhode Island.
Yeah, so Jay's got a pretty good action here. You can tell he can play a little bit, especially by the handicap at a 6.2. But just trying to get him dialed in based on Tiger's swing. The lines are a little bit messed up. The first thing, just based on the camera, the lines might move around a little bit. But first thing I have for him, just literally right off the bat, is that rehearsal swing. We want to make sure that he's doing that with a purpose. We don't want to just have a waggle in there just to have a waggle. If he has a feel that he's working on for that rehearsal, that's completely good. That kind of stuff is fine. But we just don't. We want to make sure he's not just kind of taking it back just to do it. We want to have that with a purpose. Overall, a pretty solid setup. These forearms might be getting a little open, shoulders a touch open, but feet are in a pretty good spot. Nothing crazy that I would change there. Honestly, not too different from Tiger, as you can see in the setup, but we'll get him going back. Club face opens a little bit more than we want at the top. And then the main thing we're going to be watching for is his hips here staying against this wall and kind of his head action. Again, the lines are moving a little bit with the camera, but we'll be able to get the gist. So now you can see these hips are kind of shoving in towards the golf ball. This head is starting to back up here. And then you can see a bunch of face rotation and forearm rotation with those arms. So I think it'd be really, really helpful for him to keep working on getting those hips back and staying in spine angle. Something easy to do when you're at home with that is literally just get up into golf posture, no golf club, put kind of your tailbone, put your butt against a wall, and make some turns where on the downswing, you're really feeling like your hips are pushing back and through the wall. Instead, like with how he's swinging it right now, his hips would come in and he would lose contact with the wall if he were doing that in his house. And when we watch Tiger down here, as he's coming into the ball, you can see those hips are pushing back and through that line even. It's not even like, oh, they're staying there. They're rotating back and through it. So that's going to be the main feel that I have for Jay. That'll really open up the space for him down by his hips in order for that club to pass freely. But overall, it's a pretty good action. Just a little bit of tightening up, maybe with the club face getting a little bit more square at the top, and then some body action I think would help him negate some of that club face rotation through the golf ball.
I think that's all great, Will Thompson. And for our straight shooters out there, could you explain why you're drawing all these lines? What do they mean, and how are they going to help you play better golf just by drawing them?
Oh yeah, that's a great point. So when you're looking at videos, I do this kind of with all my students, and as a coach, I'll do it sometimes with my own videos as well. But I've gotten a decent eye for it without them. But basically what we're showing here, this line going up the club is the plane line. So we want the club to travel up that on the way back, which Tiger does it literally perfect. And then ideally you want it to be really close to that line on the way down. And again, I mean, best golfer of all time is right on top of that line. It's so good. So that's basically just the plane of the golf club. This one that I've drawn up against his butt here is to show kind of what we saw with Jay and his hips, right? We don't want those hips coming in and off the wall. That shows that he's getting out of his posture, out of his spine angle. We want those to stay up against that line, kind of turn the right hip back and through them. And then as Tiger does, replace it with the left hip here. He does it perfect. And then these two lines up by their head are just to show their forward movement, if they're kind of leaning in towards the ball or getting back on their heels, and then how much they're dropping. But with the head movement, you see with a lot of good players like Tiger, they'll kind of keep their height, and then as they get into transition, they can lower down into the ground, get some power going, and push up and off. But these are just kind of the standard lines that a lot of coaches will draw just to get the overall shape of the golf swing and see what's going on.
Yeah, and thank you both for clarifying why we're drawing the lines. Hence, you can tell the name of the pod, Across the Line. Makes a lot of sense now, doesn't it? And this is a public service announcement for everyone. I want all of our straight shooters to really listen up. We are offering complimentary swing advice and analysis for everyone. It doesn't matter who you are, from where you live in the world. So please slide into our DMs, send us your swing videos, any golf questions you have. We will give you complimentary advice, and you could be even featured on the show, just as Jason Resmini was featured earlier today. If you are any of our straight shooters and you want to watch and listen to the content of the Across the Line show, You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, TikTok, and Instagram at Across the Line Golf. Thank you to all of our straight shooters for tuning in today. You are one step closer to banging home birdies and getting across the line.